How's it going, guys, and welcome to this early access look at the Tomb Kings DLC. In this 1v1 match, I'll be playing the Tomb Kings led by Katep. And guys, we're going to be facing off against the Lore Master of Sotek, who's going to be playing the Vampire Counts led by Heinrich Kemmler. So let's jump right into this match, guys, and have some fun. So in this game, I wanted to have a build that was very heavily focused on protecting Katep. So Katep is very unique in that he brings tons of Winds of Magic to the table. So if you look here, when you mount him on the Casket of Souls, I believe it is called, he gets a Covenant of Power. So essentially it just has great increases to power reserve. So what that means is, or translates to, is that you can basically cast magic all game. You're not really going to, have your Winds of Magic depleted. Definitely gives you a lot of resources to work with. But, kind of the trade-off for that is he is very squishy. You can see he does have 20 melee defense, which is incredibly low. 80 armor isn't bad, but he's still extremely vulnerable. So just in case Lore Master of Sotek, or pretty much any Vampire Counts player, decides to go, 2 Terrorgeists and a Zombie Dragon, I think you need to very, very heavily protect him. And also the artillery piece, it's not the most accurate. You can see it does have 440 range, which isn't bad. Pretty similar to like a Dwarven Cannon or an Empire Great Cannon. I think they're about the same, give or take. But his weapon damage seems to be pretty decent. But again, it is 860 right here on the tooltip, but there are multiple projectiles, and it's not the most accurate, that's for sure. But I've noticed that it's actually really effective in not like, face-to-face combat, but if somebody's like flying right overhead or is like right in front of him right here in all of the missiles, because it does fire 7 missiles. So if, all of those missiles make contact, it can do some massive burst damage. So definitely some cool utility there. But like I said, you need to protect this bad boy, and here's the next edition. So this is a Tomb Prince. So you guys probably remember the Chaos Regiment's Renown, the Swords of Chaos, have this Guardian ability. So I try and keep him near Katep. Obviously, you're going to give him that 22% physical resist. And then on top of that, I do have 2 of the Necrosphinxes. So these guys are absolute beasts. Definitely very tough to kill. Even units like Chagas and Terrorgeists obviously are going to be in the same boat, that they're not going to like break and rout off. But these guys are very, very good guardians for Katep. And on top of that, I think they're pretty good against the Vampire Counts in general. Enough mass to kind of stomp over Graveguard. 68 speed is going to allow them to catch a Mortis Engine, I think. Let's go ahead and check. So the Mortis Engine here does have 48 speed, and it's not the Claw of Nagash, it's just a regular Mortis Engine, so they're going to be able to chase that down. They can, definitely outdo Terrorgeist in a duelist situation. Hopefully it will give me some pretty good utility. And to support those 2 guys, I decided to bring the Necrotect, and I really wanted to get a chance to show you guys. So the Necrotect is a pretty cool unit. He does have a couple abilities here. He has Restore, so this is a healing ability. It can only be used on constructs, so anything like Necrotex or Ushapti or things like that can all be healed by this guy. And on top of that, he does have another buff, so let's go ahead and look. It's called the Wrath of the Creator, which is pretty cool. Armor piercing damage and melee attack. So that's another buff that he does indeed give to constructs. So he does come with another ability that can give armor and missile resist, but I didn't really think that was going to be worth it against the Vampire Counts. So as far as Katep, another thing we forgot to talk about, he does have a bound ability called the Sandstorm. So he, like I said, very squishy, but if he's left alone and you're able to just spam his spells, he can be spamming vortexes and all these magic. You can afford to almost bring the entire lore of magic and use them somewhat comfortably. So he does have the Sandstorm, which is, every time I hear that, the Darude Sandstorm just plays in my head. But has 3 charges, 90-second cooldowns, I think, and it does okay damage. It's not quite as strong as Banishment, but still pretty good. Arcane Conduit, he does have the Sakmet, I think is that Sakmet? Yeah, Incantation of Skullstorm. So this is another Vortex. So if you're just spamming these 2, honestly, you can get a lot of value. But the way Lore of Nehekar works is that the Restless Dead. So you need to be casting like nonstop, and it heals your entire army. Not constructs, it heals your undead units. So like your Tomb Guard and different things like that will get a pretty big heal. So you need to be spamming with Katep and Lore of Nehekar in general. But the Incantation of Cursed Blade for weapon damage, and then we also do have, I think, the physical resist. So my apologies for the long-winded introduction. A lot of new stuff to show you guys. On the flanks, I do have Tomb Guards with Halberds. These guys are pretty decent against the Vamps. They can stand and trade with Graveguard. I don't think they would win 1-to-1, but 47 melee defense, anti-large, and armor piercing. Definitely good against Crypt Horrors and Terrorgeist and Vargeist and all these type of things. So I'm hoping to hold. In the front, Skeleton Warriors. In the center, I do have the Kepra Guard, which are the Regiment Renown of Tomb Guard, and they're a pretty cool unit. Very similar to the Stearnsmen in that they have regeneration, and 47 weapon strength is nothing to sneeze at. So these guys can put in some heavy work. So again, very defensive formation, just putting a lot of marbles on protecting Katep, using my magic to burn down the Vampire Counts, and then also using the 2 Necrosphinxes to do some work. So for Lore Master of Sotek, Terrorgeist, he's got Vargeist, so he's probably expecting maybe me to have some Ushapti with the Great Bows or some Skeleton Archers to pick off with these guys. The Dire Pack on the far side. Front line is Zombies here, Skeleton Spearmen on the outsides of the army, 2 groups of Graveguard, the Stearnsmen, and then he does also have Heinrich. So when we were playing this game, we were actually sitting on Discord, and he mentioned that Heinrich got some pretty good buffs. I'm not sure what they are off the top of my head, but I noticed that, I'll tell you guys later in the battle, but the Mortis Engine here is also going to be pretty good if he's able to keep it alive. But I do have some pretty good pressure here. So without further ado, guys, let's get this show on the road. So right now you can see my Casket of Souls is going to be blasting into those Sternsmen right there, I think. Yeah, they take a little bit of damage, losing 6 models. It's not accurate from a great distance, but like I said, the closer they get, the more effective it seems to be for me, because those missiles are going to be a little bit more, compacted here. So right now I'm going to be turning Katep, and you can see he's this thing is so ridiculous. I thought it would be like Helm Gorse level of Haggard, but it's actually not terrible. So it shoots in here on these guys, and it did some pretty good damage. Actually kills a model, takes down about 10 to 15% HP. Definitely not terrible. And I'm going to be able to start spamming my Vortex abilities, but in the meantime, I'm just getting my Skeleton Spears, my Halberds, and my Necrosphinxes are just going to be protecting everything and getting ready to party. Because obviously, Loremaster of Sotek looks to be kind of, it looks like he sees the meats back on the menu here with Katep. He's very, very squishy compared to the other Tomb King's lords. So in the pits, we're going to have the colliding undead forces. So the Kepra Guard, these Tomb Guard are going to be bashing some of these zombies. We'll definitely cut them to pieces in a matter of moments here. My other group of Skeleton Warriors, they're going to do an okay job of dealing with the enemy fodder units. I don't know what the stat differential is between the Tomb Kings, I was about to say the Tomb Guard, the Tomb Kings and the Vampire Count Skeletons, but I would imagine they're pretty similar. So up in there, you can see my one Necrosphinx has gotten into the pits right here, and he's just going to be smashing some of these guys, and I just wanted to have him here to screen this out, this Mortis Engine, keep it off the battlefield. But like I said, investing a lot of resources in protecting Katep. I do have my Phoenix right here, or my Sphinx, not Phoenix, my Necrosphinx kind of protecting. Definitely a pretty good blob opportunity right here. So the Vampire Counts do have 2 big blobs, and I was trying to go after Kemmler with my Necrosphinx. You can see I do pop the Joff's Incantation of the Cursed Blades, and feeling a little bit safe, I just go ahead and send these guys down here. And you can see my Necrosphinx just slapped that guy into the Shadow Realm. He does have that anti-large bonus, if I'm not mistaken, and he already has a really, really high weapon strength of 550, so those Var guys definitely need to watch out. In the meantime, I do just start to shoot Katep, because he does do magic damage, so I shot at those Hex Rays and did some pretty good work. My Spears are able to screen out these Hounds who are coming to feast on my goodies here in the back line. And I accidentally sent my Tomb Guard in the front line, whereas I meant to send my Necrotech, so I did lose that on that physical resist, which was a little bit sloppy. So there's going to be my Sandstorm coming down here, so you guys can see it is going off in these skeletons and some of these zombies, and doing a pretty good job of clearing up the fodder units right there. So definitely not bad, and he does have 3 charges of that. You can see that big healing ore is going to be going down across my army with the Realm of Souls. I think that was probably the Realm of Souls going off right there. In the meantime, the Vargeist are going to be landing in the back, but these are Tomb Guard with Halberds, so they're going to be pretty adequate at kind of fending off these Vargeist. So he doesn't really have too many good targets. Everything I has anti-large, but his front line is definitely putting in a little bit of work against my chaff units. This other here in the back, this Necrosphinx is doing a pretty good job against its Mortis Engine, just smashing this thing with its anti-large bonus. There's another attack of about 600 damage right there. And you can see the Mortis Engine is running, but the Necrosphinx is pretty quick with almost 70 movement speed, so he's easily going to be able to chase down that Mortis Engine. In the meantime, the Terrorgeist is fighting the Necrosphinx, and I wonder if they have any custom animations. I don't know if they do. They probably don't, but there was one when I was doing some testing videos with Indie Pride on the Giant fighting against the Arrow Titan, which was pretty neat. But you can see a pretty even battle so far. Balance Power is right in the middle, and I am about to get to my Realm of Souls Tier 3. So once I get to Tier 3, you get a big heal for 21 seconds across your entire army, and then you also do get the Ushapti summon, which is going to be really nice. Over here, you can see I do get the Usirian's Incantation of Vengeance, so I made sure to bring this. It's a slowing effect. It's basically like a very, very powerful version of the Melkost Mystifying Miasma. So it does slow by 24%, and also does some really good single-target magic damage, and I'm able to melt those Hex Rays very quickly. You can see the Necrotector is going to be here with the boys. He's meant against infantry, but still providing that support here. And the Tomb Guard with Halberds are going to be able to cut down those Vampire Cav. In the meantime, Katep is just kind of, standing on top of his spears and halberds. I'm doing everything I can to protect him. He's pretty much the one vulnerability in my army that if he gets really popped down, I can just lose this pretty quick. Because again, the Tomb Kings are very similar to the Vampire Counts in that if their leadership goes, they don't have the best leadership on their units in general, and they can crumble. So here on the far side, the 2 Necrosphinxes are doing a pretty good job. The Loremaster of Sotek does pop the Curse of Years, lowering their melee attack and their speed, definitely kind of timing down a little bit. But I do also have my Tomb Prince down here, so unfortunately the Guardian ability isn't being put to great use, but I was just trying to hunt Kemmler. I figured I could take him out, but he felt, what I wanted to say earlier is that he felt so incredibly tanky this game. I wasn't sure what was going on. I just couldn't bring him down. So you can see the Ushapti summon has come here. The Necrosphinx just pounding all these fodder units, and these guys are going to start cleaving these zombies apart. And hopefully we get to see some of those cool animations. They have some really, really neat ones where they pick them up with their size and just cut them in half. There's some wild stuff going on. So the Ushapti providing a little bit of support here. You can see my Necrosphinx is getting surrounded and taking some damage from the Terrorgeist, and of course Heinrich Kemmler with his Pimp Sword down here doing some work. And Katep on the high ground is being protected by his legions of Tomb Guard, who, like I said, do have pretty good AP values, very high melee defense at 52. So the Grave Guard, though they probably would win in really long sustained combat, I think the Tomb Guard should be able to fend them off. And if Katep is nearby supporting them, they should be A-okay. In the back, I'm going to be reforming my ranks with the Skeleton Spears, just going to be defending him here, keeping that really, really tight formation. And the Terrorgeist down here, putting in some decent work against my Necrosphinx, but this was something that Sotek and I saw in the game. The Necrosphinx and the Terrorgeist were fighting, and it was just this really weird situation where, was that my, oh yeah, I'm actually shooting at him with the Casket of Souls. Let's actually see how much damage this has while he's here. So about 4,100, looks like it pops him, takes him down about, yeah, 200 or 300, not bad. A couple of those missiles making contact, but the Necrosphinx actually knocked the Terrorgeist back up into the air, so he like uppercutted him and sent him back up into the air, which was pretty ridiculous. We're like, what was going on there? But over here, you can see that this Necrosphinx is going to be fighting against Krell, just kind of pounding him into the ground here. But Krell is in okay shape. He's got about 1,200 HP. The other Terrorgeist obviously on the hunch as well, so I didn't want to be taking that AP damage. So I do pop the Narrows Protection, Incantation of Protection. I'm going to run back and just get this really tight Helm's Deep formation. And I honestly think that Katep might be a pretty decent lord to choose from. He really allows you to spam your magic. You know, brings you some pretty good pressure with that Casket of Souls, and again, you just have to allocate so much to protecting him. So if he is a lord that you're going to pick in, I would say a competitive or semi-competitive multiplayer game, you need to allocate a ton of resources to guarding him, or making sure you're in a matchup where you don't really have to worry too much about guarding him. So like against the dwarves, for example. But I don't know how great he would be against the Dawi. But the Necrosphinx right here, you can see I do pop that big not banishment, but that Curse of Dajaf. So whenever Tomb King units like the Tomb Prince or the Grand Hierophant up here get below 50%, they pop a big AoE debuff, or oftentimes in the case of the Tomb Prince right here, or whatever he's called, the Tomb Prince, it gives you an activatable ability. And this one actually drives everyone into a rampage for a short period of time, and it also gives them a negative 26 melee attack. So very, very powerful. Definitely doing some pretty good work. So the longer the battles go on, the Tomb Kings definitely get a little bit stronger. You get the Realm of Souls, you get that really long heal, you get the curses from your lords. For Katep, when he gets below 50%, it actually gives a big AoE kind of Fate Buna style effect on all those enemy troops here. So you can see the Necrosphinx doing a pretty good job. I just keep him high and tight to my lord on top of these halberds, so if the Terrorgeist does come after him, he has some protection. You can see Krell's going to be marching up the hill, but he's probably going to melt away before he gets there, which is so unfortunate. I really wish Krell would last forever. Not forever, but not degrade like regular units. I think that'd be cool. The Terrorgeist up in the high ground is crumbling, or up in the air, and he's coming in hot here, but I do have a ton of spears and armor-piercing halberds, and you can see Katep is getting hunted by Krell. That 20 melee defense is definitely not going to serve him terribly well. And you can see 1 or 2 attacks from Krell. It just puts a huge dent in the Grand Hierophant. And you can see another Vortex ability coming down, doing some pretty good damage against those Graveguard and some Skeleton Warriors. So I probably casted about 5 Vortexes over the course of the game, and you can see the Grand Hierophant up to 153 kills, which isn't necessarily the best against the Vampire counts, who are obviously have a ton of fodder units, but a lot of that was on Graveguard and Stearnsmen and units like that, so definitely pretty happy about that. So you can see the Necrosphinxes are going to be charging down the hill, just laying a pounding in the front line of these Vampire Counts troops. The bounce power is very, very even at this point, though. You can see it's dead center, give or take, and you can see the bombardment ability coming in from the Casket of Souls, going to be shooting in there. And also, I think another banishment ability coming down. I thought I was casting something, but I guess not. So I do decide to keep this Necrosphinx pretty close to my lord. I can see the Terrorgeist was going to be coming in, so I do turn my spears. These other guys around, and this Necrosphinx shouldn't have any problem switching here. He is at negative 2 leadership, but this Terrorgeist is in much, much worse shape. At the same time, I do cast the Dajaf's Incantation of the Curse, giving some weapon damage, and you can see that Terrorgeist gets sent to the Shadow Realm there, and you see that big AoE ability. That's actually the Curse ability from the Grand Hierophant, so that's going to be draining the health of all of these units and definitely helping me to kind of close out this battle. So you can see the bounce power for the first time shifting in my favor just a little bit, still pretty even, and I was so surprised. Like, I could not touch Heinrich Kemmler this game. I was like attacking him with the Necrosphinxes and going after him with my Tomb Prince and these other lords like that, or heroes, and he was just so tanky. So I don't know if he got some new ability, but I guess it might just be the Cloak of Mist and Shadows, or maybe is that something that lasts a little bit longer now, the duration's longer. I'm not sure. I'll have to take a look after this game's over, but Heinrich is actually going to town, though. He's actually been chasing down the Grand Hierophant and making some pretty good contact. You can see he's actually at 1,500 HP. Heinrich looks to be summoning some zombies. I think he's probably going to summon them right on top of me here. But for the most part, the Necrosphinxes are just kind of cleaning up shop, just laying and pounding on these guys. And, of course, Heinrich Kemmler just putting up a great fight. And Krell definitely did some good work in my front line. Obviously, the fear and terror that Krell brings to the table, not going to be as good against the Tomb Kings here, who are also undead. But the AP was pretty nice. Definitely was able to put a little bit of a hurting on some of my Necrosphinxes earlier on. He did give some pretty good chase to the Grand Hierophant over here, who's on his little... The attack animations are pretty funny. It just, like goes in a circle and, like, rams thing, just like go-kart style. But the zombies here are going down pretty hard, and the Necrosphinx, of course, is finally going to get its paws on Heinrich Kemmler. It's just been a surprisingly durable this game. I mean, you can see these Necrosphinxes, definitely very, very powerful units. So just, from my anecdotal observations and playing kind of pre-release and everything, and I found that the Necrosphinxes are just a really solid unit. I mean, the Arrow Titans do bring some pretty good utility, but they only have 32 speed, which is a really big issue. And when you can get a unit like a Necrosphinx, which is basically very similar to Shaggoth, but it's unbreakable, causes fear and terror, much like a Shaggoth, obviously. And it feels a little bit more impactful than the Arrow Titan. The Arrow Titan is more of a utility unit, like Sotek and I were discussing. It does have Spirit Leech and Shem's Burning Gaze, but in sustained combat, I feel like the Necrosphinx is just so much better. But I'll definitely be experimenting with a couple builds that are going to be using the Arrow Titan with the Necrotex to kind of protect and support them. But I honestly felt like this was a pretty good vampire, like anti-vampire build. Like the Necrosphinxes were really good at fending off the Terrorgeist and other large threats and dealing with Mortis engines. And the Tomb Guard with the Halberds held the front line. I mean, they did good against Chaff. They did good against the Grave Guard here. Was definitely very happy with their performance. And I think the Tomb Prince is a good addition, even though I used him pretty horribly. But the Grand Hierophant with the Vortex is very good at clearing up Chaff and Grave Guard and units like that. And of course, his Casket can do some okay damage. It's not bad at all. He's just kind of a mobile artillery station, quote unquote mobile, but I liked him quite a bit. So I'm very well played to my opponent, Lore Master of Sotek. Make sure to mosey on over to his channel. I'm sure he'll be casting some of these as well. We played a couple games, so there will be a couple more coming your way in the next few days. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and have an excellent night, guys, and take care.